Hello, how are you? Today we have an amazing session that I planned for you. Today's masterclass is about how to become a stress ninja, how to master yourself, and how to really master your life so that when you come into contact with your environment, with people around you, that you are becoming this amazing stress ninja. How to make it happen, that's going to be a topic of today's conversation for us. And it's a big topic for personal growth. And the most important is how we can go from stressed to empowered. That is the main thing for today. How do you go from stressed, overwhelmed, exhausted, and anxious to empowered? That is a huge mastering technique that I'm going to teach you today. And also, you're going to learn how to control your stress, how to control your experiences, your environment, and your responses. And in the end, how to become a master and resilient person in this modern world. So give me a second, and I'm going to get started. So the first thing that I would like to talk to you about is stress. And what's the effect really of stress on today's world? And if you think about, I would like to share with you some statistics and to show you how important it is for us to manage our stress. According to the American Institute of Stress, 63% of US workers are ready to quit their job to avoid work-related stress. 63%. Additionally, 94% of workers reporting feeling stressed at work, and 55% of Americans are stressed during a day. If we think about these statistics, at any given moment, more than 55% of Americans are stressed, whether it's in their daily life, whether it is at work, or in interactions with friends and family and whoever else they're involved with. That is a very huge number. Personally, for myself, I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be one of those over 55% of Americans that are stressed. To me, that interferes with the quality of my life. That interferes with the quality of my experiences. So the questions I want to ask you today, and we're going to have a little bit of interaction, is what do you really want? What is your vision in terms of your life and your stress level? If you could please let me know, where do you see yourself? What is it your vision for your life? What do you envision? What would you like to see in your life? If you could please share with me, that would be wonderful, because I want this session to be all about getting to know you and interacting together. So what is it that you really want? What is your mission? What is your vision in terms of the stress level? For me personally, I don't want to be stressed. Even if I'm interfering stressful situations, I want to learn how to manage my stress with love and grace so that it does not affect me. And that's the thing in today's modern world, is that even if we have stressful situations, the whole point is learning how to manage stress. So if you could please let me know, what is your vision in terms of stress? What do you envision? What is your big goal for your life? What would you like to accomplish? What would you like to accomplish from today's masterclass? That is something that I would like for you to reflect on, because it's extremely important for us to set an intention for our life, for everyday experiences, so that we can navigate it with confidence. For me personally, if I could be at the level 0 to 1 on a scale from 1 to 10, that would be amazing. That would be a huge achievement for me. That would be an amazing life for me when I can only experience very minimal or none of the stress in my life. That would be huge. So what is it for you? And why is it important for you to achieve the state of that which you want? What does it represent to you? For me, having a stress-free life represents higher quality of life. It represents for me spending joyful moments with my family so that I don't have to be stressed. That's the whole point. My goal is to become a master of myself and of my stress, so it does not affect me even when there's stress present in my life. That is my goal for today, for myself and for you. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where do you sit in terms of your stress currently? Is it 5, 6, 7, maybe a 10 sometimes? Sometimes I feel those moments where I feel that stress overwhelms me. But the best part is I've learned how to manage it. And today I will be sharing that with you because the modern world these days is impacted with event situations and money, relationships, career that we have to deal with. But it's how we deal with it that matters. And that's where we become stronger in the process. So that is my big mission for today, is to share my tips and some parts of my journey with you so that we can create a beautiful life together. Also, another thing for you to reflect is, what areas of your life do you currently feel more stressed about? Is it career, relationship, money, health? Please think about it and put it in the chat. I want to have this as an interactive experience so that we can grow together. Think about it and put it in the chat. What is it? Where are you feel more stressed about in your life? Sometimes I feel, like even a simple thought about money, it could become stressful. For other people, career doesn't let them sleep well at night. For other people, it's relationships that are on their mind when they're trying to create that beautiful life. So how is the current level of stress is affecting your sense of joy and well-being? That's extremely important too, because we don't want to spend our life always stressed. And then the next thing you know is life goes by and all I remember is stressful moments. We don't want that. We want to flip the script where we have this beautiful sense of joy and well-being so that we can have those precious moments with the loved ones. And I think the most important question to reflect on is what is the long-term effect if the stress continues in your life? What is the long-term effect of it continuing to be in your life if it doesn't get resolved? If you do not take the measures today to manage your stress, to overcome your stress, to become an amazing stress ninja. Let's see, I would like to reduce my stress. I stress about stress because I know that over time it kills. Stress affects your mind and body, so managing it is important. Elizabeth, that is a beautiful insight. That is extremely important to recognize. And today we are going to flip that script. And 6 to 8, some days in my life, I do feel like 6 to 8 is also a big important number. But the most important thing is learning how we can manage that. How can we become those amazing stress ninjas so stress doesn't affect us anymore? It's a little bit of everything. I'm a tough season of life right now. I'm in a tough season of life right now. Yes, a beautiful thing about becoming masters of ourselves is also recognizing that when we are in a difficult situation and giving ourselves grace and love. And that also makes our heart softer and the situation is not as bad as it seems to be. So, and it's really, I love your recognition that, stress in the long term, it kills, it's true. I actually am very deeply resonating with that because my mom passed away 5 years ago at a very young age. She was 56 years old. And she died because she was always stressed. And she was always stressed, always doing, always running, always not being able to manage that. And that's what ended her life. So today's meeting is very deeply important for me because I don't want to be just like my mom. I want to have a beautiful life where I can enjoy my moments with my child and my husband so that we can have beautiful moments together. So today's masterclass is deeply important for me because it's personal for me, and that's what matters. When things become personal for us, we want to make sure we create something meaningful and we learn from our mistakes so that we can bring our experiences into the future. So let me, if we think about stress, there are three important components to mastering the stress. Number one is understanding stress. Number two is building the toolkit of strategies, how we can manage the stress and how we can beautifully navigate stressful situations. And the most important, number three, is how to managing stress and how to reduce the impact that stress has on our mind, body, and our lives. So that is really important. The first thing I want to talk about is let me just check, hold on a second. The first thing I want to talk today about is one of the most important things when stress comes into our lives. It's we're going into the flight or fight response, into this paralyzing response where our palms start sweating, where our armpits start sweating, where we don't make rational decisions, where we make fast decisions. And sometimes it's very simple. It could happen. It's that paralyzing response that takes over our body. So what we want to do is, number one with stress is recognizing that we're in a stressful situation. And it could be very simply, somebody said something, person cut you off on a freeway, you're leaving the house late, you're planning too many things into a day, or you're delaying things until last minute. A lot of the times it's simply us waiting until last minute and then rushing around. That creates added stress into our lives. So when we start understanding that all those things create that fight or flight and that paralyzing response in our body, that's good to know, and that's good to understand that that's happening. So the first thing about stress is understanding that those things create these fight or flight responses in our body. Once we understand that, the most important thing about stress is building a relationship with stress. Because once we start building that relationship, we are going to understand that how our brain is wired. For example, when we go into the flight or fight response, that's how our brain is wired. The brain perceives all these situations as danger. So the brain starts putting adrenaline and cortisol into our bloodstream. And what's happening is we go into our survival brain. It's the brain that's responsible for fight or flight. It's the brain that's responsible when the tiger is attacking us. That's the part of our brain that kicks in. So the most important number one part about addressing situations like this is recognizing, okay, I'm in a stressful situation right now. My body went into this response, this flight or fight response. My adrenaline and cortisol kicks in. So once we recognize that, we are able to manage stress, because what's happening is we don't go and we don't become involved with the stress and into the stressful situation. We start building relationship with stress, as if from the observer perspective. So what's happening is we recognize that we went into our survival part of the brain, the flight or fight response. And then that gives us an opportunity to reflect and to respond. What a lot of people do is they start running, yelling, screaming, getting angry. So that's when we went into that survival, that limbic part of the brain. But once we start understanding the relationship with the stress, we can change how we respond to a situation. So the number one thing, how to resolve any of those scenarios, is bringing consciousness and awareness into your daily life. So start recognizing that what causes stress. Me being late causes me stress. Me putting too many things on my plate during a day causes me stress. Me putting projects until last minute, those things cause me stress. Once I start recognizing things that cause stress to me, it brings awareness and consciousness into my mind. So then I am able to understand how I am wired and how stress is affecting me as well. So really important, that's what I want to discuss about is, hold on a second. Yeah, really important that I want to discuss is once we understand that we are in overwhelming, frustrating, or threatening situation in some way, the number one thing we gotta do is take deep breaths. I pause, I connect to my body, and I take 3 slow, deep breaths. Deep inhale, pause, and exhale. Deep inhale, pause, and exhale. Deep inhale, pause, and exhale. And what it gives is it's really powerful. Many people underestimate how powerful it is because it's incredibly powerful. It gives us an opportunity to reflect, to tune in, and ask ourselves, what did just cause me stress? Once we start building that beautiful relationship with stress, and the most important, how we perceive stress, everything changes. Stress is no longer a stress response, no longer a response to something. Stress, it's almost kind of like we are shifting into the growth mindset. And that's incredibly powerful. If you can learn, if you can, in any given situation, instead of being attacked by a tiger and running away from the tiger where cortisol kicks in and you're stressed, instead taking a deep breath and reframe stress for yourself. Shift into the growth mindset. That is the most powerful thing you can do. And if you start viewing stress as an opportunity for growth, as a challenge, instead of as a threat, that's how you grow. So it's taking that deep breath, 3 deep breaths, pausing for a second, recognizing what in that moment caused you stress. That is incredibly powerful because it gives you knowledge. It gives you understanding on how you wired. So next time you're running out of the house because you're late to a meeting, you will understand what caused that stress for you. You running out of the house caused you that added stress. And what happens is a little by little, it keeps adding up, adding up, adding up. And then the next thing you know, if it goes unaddressed, it's not good because it's little things like this that keep adding again and again and again that affect our health, affect our relationships. That's how we get sick. And it's important to become aware of the effects that stress does for us. But the most important thing that I absolutely love is reframing the relationship we have with stress. So that's kind of number one thing I want to give you in this masterclass. It's not the stress that matters, it's how we respond to stress. Every situation is neutral unless we give a meaning to it. So it's important to understand what meaning we are giving to stress. It's important to understand that when we are stressed, we are going into the survival part of our brain where the flight or fight response kicks in. That's where we get angry. We don't make rational decisions. And we are in survival basic needs of our brain. What's important is once we recognize that when we take these 3 deep breaths, we are switching from survival part of the brain, from the limbic brain, we are switching to a different part of the brain. It's called prefrontal cortex. And what it does is that's the part of the brain that's responsible for creativity, for the flow, for ease, for peace. So by us simply taking 3 deep breaths, connecting our body, we are able to shift our response to stress from the survival part of the brain, the lizard brain that's located in the back of the head, to prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of our brain. So what's happening is we are able to reframe in that moment our stress. We are able, with those 3 deep breaths, take an opportunity for us to shift from flight or fight response into that creative part of the brain. Solutions to the problems don't come in the flight or fight response. Solutions to the problems come in that part of the brain where we are at joy, at peace. So by us taking those 3 deep breaths, we are able to shift into the part of our brain that's responsible for peace, joy, and flow. So what I want you to first ask yourself, get a journal, write it down. What things for you create that stress response in your body? So what are the things? Running late, putting too many things in a day. It could be relationships in your household that create that. And by you recognizing that you went into survival part of the brain, and by you taking those 3 deep breaths, you're able to shift into safety, into comfort. And it takes 5 seconds, but the change is huge. It's very empowering. Or last minute deadlines, or a lot of the times when we have thoughts, a lot of the times just our thoughts create stressful responses in our body. So it's extremely important to pay attention what thoughts you have in your mind. And really the most important is reframing the relationship you have with stress. If we say, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, there's no solution when we say, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. But once we recognize, number one, what causes stress, just write those things down for yourself. What causes stress for you? And start making little adjustments every day where you can shift so you're not putting yourself in those stressful situations. Once you do that, you start to reframe stress. So you don't just say, oh, I'm stressed, I don't know what to do, I'm blowing up, I'm exploding. Take a moment, tune to yourself, take those deep breaths and say, you know what? I am reframing stress and my relationship with it. And that's when you step into that growth mindset. And you start seeing stress as a challenge rather than a threat, as an opportunity to grow. So next time stress comes into your life, say, wait a minute, what can I learn from this experience? Okay, I see. I left the house late. I was driving in the car stressed the entire time. That's what caused me stress. Next time, I will make sure to leave on time. So here, relationships, procrastination, yes, negative thinking sometimes, putting too much pressure on myself. Yes, a lot of the times, these causes, there is also something underlying that's causing, for example, too much pressure on myself. Sometimes we need to go a little deeper and dig in. What are we putting pressure on ourselves for? So Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you stay until the end of this masterclass, there is a gift that I prepared for you. So, but yes, relationships, we can easily manage the relationships and stress as well. Procrastinating as well. Yes, procrastinating is a big one for me. It's, waiting until last minute to complete the tasks, or like I said, leaving house last minute. So those are things that cause procrastination. But once we start building that relationship with stress and recognizing that my well-being and my joy and peace are the most important for me, and my health is extremely important for me. So recognizing that all those things create an effect on our daily well-being and how we manage it. The next one I want to talk about in terms of stress is lack of control. A lot of the times when things go out of our control, we stress out because we can't control them. So it stresses us out. The way the brain is designed is brain wants to keep things in control. And then when things go out of control, we stress out because it's not in alignment with what our brain wants. Brain wants predictability, brain wants safety. And when things are out of control, that creates stress. So that's another problem that I wanted to talk. And what happens is during situations when we have no control over a situation, stress and irritation, it just intensifies. And we have no control over situation, or at least we think we have a belief that we have no control over situation, tight deadlines or difficult relationships. And sometimes when people react certain ways, sometimes we go out of control just because it triggered something in us. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but yes, a lot of the times a sense of helplessness kicks in because we truly are believing that we cannot manage our stress. And stress levels spike. Again, it's like cortisol kicks in and all the stress hormones kicks in, adrenaline kicks in. A lot of the times when we have unmet expectations, stress kicks in. We are expecting a specific outcome and it doesn't come out the way we want. And that creates stress because that's not the way we want things to go. And we want things our way. If they're not our way, it creates stress. So the biggest thing is brain registers it as a disruption, which creates more stress in our body. And again, the solution to that is in situations like this, we think when we lack control, when situations go out of control, out of hand, we believe that we have no control, but we actually do. The control we get is through understanding that a lot of the times I cannot change the situation, but there is one thing I can change and one thing I can control. And that is your reaction to stress, your reaction to how you manage it, and your reaction is to how do you respond to stress. That is a huge one. Because a lot of the times when things go out of control and something is not working out in our relationship or with job or career, we think we lack control. But in reality, at any given moment, we do have control. And that control is with how we respond to a situation. So a big thing that I want to talk about it is a lot of the times situations are neutral. For example, the table where I'm sitting at is brown. The situation is neutral. But what we are doing is we're giving our interpretation to situation. A lot of the times our work, career, relationships, things are neutral, but it's the translation that we give to it that changes our relationship to it. I hope that makes sense. So it's basically all the things in our life are neutral unless we give them our interpretation, unless we give them our way to respond to it. So that's what happens is all the situations are neutral unless we give it meaning. And a lot of the times it's that meaning that creates a stress response in our body. For example, let's say a partner walks into a room and he completely ignores you. It's a neutral event. However, your mind can interpret it and give it some sort of different meaning to it. Oh, he doesn't love me. Oh, he doesn't appreciate me. Oh, he's angry at me. So event was neutral. The partner walked into a room, but the way we respond to that, the way we create stories in our mind is what creates that stress and unease. So once we start recognizing that everything in our world is neutral, but it's the meaning that we give to it, and it's the way we respond to a situation, that's what creates sometimes added stress in our lives. So once we start paying attention to how our mind interprets neutral situations into something that we create a different meaning to it, once we start recognizing that, we can start changing our relationship with things around us. If the partner walked into a room and didn't give you some sort of loving appreciation, it doesn't mean anything. That's just what it is. Your partner walked into a room and just maybe he came to grab a glass of water or whatever it is. It's just neutral event, but it's the interpretation that we give to it that creates that stress. And a lot of the times, this lack of control, we believe we are unable to control situations when we go into stressful responses, especially on the freeway or traffic or anything like that. Once we recognize again what's happening, again, I would love to come back. I wanted for you to be like an amazing self-reflection. Whenever something triggers you, whenever there is a specific response or something, take a deep breath, slow down, take 2, 3 slow deep breaths, and talk yourself through it. What's going on right now? Is something happening that's creating a sense of danger in my body, or is it the response that I have to it? Once we start kind of having this separation between the stress in our lives and ourselves, once we don't get attached and involved like in the current in the ocean, once we are not becoming part of the stress, once we create that distance from the stress, that's what makes a huge difference. Once you start recognizing that, wait a minute, what did just happen? Let me take a deep breath. You take a deep breath. Okay, what happened? The situation is neutral, yet my mind is creating stories about it. So then we kind of create a little bit distance and look from it from an outsider's perspective and say, is this really a threat or danger? Because normally stress happens when we are in some sort of stress or danger. So once we start recognizing that there is no stress or danger, your body goes back to normal cycle. Breathing, you go back into the flow. You don't go into these, triggers and attacking and yelling. Everything is neutral unless we give it meaning. And yes, I love that. Yes, in the comments, everything in our world is neutral. It's the meaning we give to it. That's exactly. That became a huge game changer for me. Everything is neutral unless we give it a meaning. But not only that, what stories are we tell ourselves about that which would happen? And another thing about lack of control that I wanted to kind of talk about for a little bit is basically I want to explain there is a difference between, so we have regulated states and unregulated states in our body. Regulated states are play, flow, ease, joy. And unregulated or dysregulated states are overwhelm, anxiety, and freeze. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you find my content helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So what I want to explain about, we have these regulated states and dysregulated states. And again, I want to understand the difference between two states. They are very similar to each other, but yet they're at the same time very different at the same time. So what I want to explain is all those states are neutral, but it's how we perceive their environment. So what that means is when we perceive our environment safe, we are in a state of playfulness, flow, peace, and joy. And when we perceive our environment dangerous, that's automatically our body shifts into overwhelm, anxiety, freeze, stress. So once we are able to recognize that all those states of freeze, overwhelm, anxiety, stress, flow, play, they're all very close to each other, but it's how we perceive the environment, which either shifts that state into a dysregulated state or into a regulated state. So it's important for us to understand how we perceive the environment. If we perceive an environment in some sort of way unsafe or dysregulated, our body creates those dysregulated emotions, anxiety, overwhelm, stress. So again, it's taking that distance from the event that happened and kind of taking that observer look at it and saying, wait a minute, is my situation stressful right now? Is my encounter with a colleague, is it dangerous in any way? Is it unsafe in any way? And once we start creating that distance between the situation and ourselves, no, the situation between me and my colleague is not dangerous. It's not unsafe. That's just how my body interpreted that event. Once we start seeing that my body interpreted that event as dangerous and unsafe, my body immediately kicked into overwhelmed stress and freeze response. So once we are able to see, wait a minute, the situation is not unsafe and not dangerous, we can stay in that state of peace and joy again and address the situation as it comes in. So I hope it makes sense. So a lot of the times, everything is neutral unless we give it meaning. And all situations are neutral in our life unless our brain perceives the environment as safe and dangerous. So once we're able to create that distance and really ask ourselves, am I really dangerous and I'm in a unsafe situation or environment? That's when we can start regulating our nervous system. So the big thing about stress and how we live in stressful situations and in this environment in the modern world, we are able to create space between our stress and our response to stress. And in my opinion, that's a huge thing. For example, when I was pregnant, I made at the early stages of my pregnancy, I made a very important decision, and it really affected the outcome of my pregnancy in a positive way. And what happened was I recognized at the time that I was responding very stressfully to many situations, and I would just go in kind of like into this flight or fight response right away, right away, right away. And what happened was I told myself, the way I respond to every situation while I'm pregnant for the next 9 months is going to be directly affecting the health and well-being of my child. I created a sense of urgency in how I responded to stress. I recognized that every outcome of every event could possibly negatively affect the well-being of my baby. I knew there was a cause and effect, and I wanted to make sure that I am protecting myself, I am protecting my baby, and I am protecting my environment. So early on in my pregnancy, I decided that whenever a stressful situation comes in, I'm going to take a step back and evaluate how I am responding to that stressful event, how I am responding to that environment, and really recognizing, is it worth the well-being of my baby? So that was an important, my stakes were incredibly high. My stakes were, my reaction to stress will affect the well-being of my baby. There is no more higher stakes that you can have. And I created a sense of urgency in my body that every response, I need to take a step back and evaluate how I want to respond to stress. And that changed my entire life. Just recognizing the urgency of how important it was for me to be not stressed in my everyday life while I was carrying the baby was huge. So that's what I want to kind of like shift a little bit of perception for you is once you know the importance of stress on your life or the disruption that's just that stress creates on your life, you're going to start looking at things differently. And that is amazing to recognize. If you're able to shift your relationship with stress and to say, you know what, my stress, my life is important, my well-being is important, my joy and peace and excitement and just staying in the flow is extremely important. Once you recognize that, you start looking at stress differently. So all we need to do is create the stakes a little bit higher, because right now we don't see the result of effect of stress on our life. We don't see it right now, but stress is a compounding thing. A little adds up, and then 10, 20, 30, 40 years, who knows what things happen. So what we want to do is kind of recognize that and create a little higher stakes for ourselves so that we're taking proactive steps towards effectively managing the stress. So for me, that was extremely important to recognize that that was shifting the needle for me. Being in that beautiful state of flow, of ease, where I'm not stressed, where I'm not going into the flight or fight response, and I am not anger. I don't have anger in my body so that it's affecting my relationships with my husband, with my child, and things like that. That was extremely important. So if we turn up the heat a little bit on that and recognize the importance of stress on our lives and start creating a little more responsibility, I think that's a big word. Self-leadership, recognizing that every action we have produces consequences and results. So once we recognize that we are in charge of our life, I am in charge of my stress. I am in charge of how I respond to stress. Once we have this level of self-leadership, we are able to create this beautiful harmony in our body because we're not going to be reacting to stress anymore. We are going to recognize that, hey, at any given moment, I have an opportunity on how I respond to stress. And that is huge. That is incredibly powerful, recognizing that I can change my relationship with stress and be a powerful leader for myself. And anytime stress comes to me, it's how I manage it and how my body responds to environment. Does it create a dangerous environment or a safe environment? because all those emotions, they're really close together. What makes the difference is how our body perceives the environment. So that's kind of, and the next thing I want to talk about is unresolved emotions and stress, especially the stress triggers. Stress triggers is a huge thing, and it comes from having all these unresolved emotions. So it could be triggers about money. You open a bank account and you just stressed out. It could be a partner says something and you blow up at him. So that's how we create, that's what happens is there are unresolved emotions in our body, and whenever something happens, there is a stress trigger, our response to it. So that's what happens. And often underlying emotions are sadness, fear, frustration. And a lot of the times it's unresolved emotions from our childhood that are affecting our response and our triggers. So I don't know if you know much about triggers, but triggers is a huge thing. And a lot of the times it's those things that we don't know about, but they happen and we don't know how to fix it. So that's what trigger is. It's the best way to explain it is if somebody says something and you just blow up, and then you're like, wait a minute, where did it come from? So that's what trigger is there's some unresolved emotions, and that unresolved emotion created a stress trigger in the body. So that's what it is. And these unaddressed emotions, they can manifest as irritation, and it's just trigger after trigger. And what happens is our life again is not in balance. And all it is from these bottled up emotions and feelings that we have in our body. And they just come up, they just explode like little volcanoes, but sometimes we don't know where it came from. So what it is just the stress buildup when not released and processed emotions. So one of the important things for that step is incorporating important self-care. Taking care of ourselves internally, making sure our cup is full so that we are not exploding into the world. Because our relationships are a reflection of our internal world. Let me repeat that again. Our relationships are a reflection, a mere reflection of our internal world. That statement literally changed my life. And the reason is because it's not about me, but it's the other person triggered something inside of me that has not been resolved yet. Another person triggered something inside of me that hasn't been resolved. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's about me. The other person in a relationship is only a reflection of my internal world. So that's what it is. That's how powerful it is. Our relationships are there for a reason, because our relationships are what we are able to look at, to reflect back at ourselves, what needs to be shifted and adjusted in our body. So when triggers happen, it's not the other person that triggered us. It's something inside of ourselves that was triggered. The other person was only there as a mirror for us to see what got triggered in. So, and that's where my gift comes in here for you. What I want to do is offer you invitation to have a private call with me where you and I can go one-on-one together, and where I can help you uncover if you have any triggers, if you have any problems that you're working in, anything where you want my help in shifting your stress. That's what it's for. I want to help you. I want to help make this world a better place. And we cannot do it alone. We have to make sure we are whole and complete within, so then we can go and help others. So that's my offer to you, is have a conversation one-on-one where you can tell me whatever it is that's bothering you, whether it's stress related, whatever it is, where you and I can have a private conversation one-on-one, and where I can help shift your relationships or whatever it is you're struggling with, where I can help you to create that beautiful harmony that you have, for you to have that harmony. So how excited are you to book a private call where I can help you uncover these triggers and resolve any stress and emotional issues that you're struggling with? I can be a mirror and a reflection for you where we can work together, and it's a free private call one-on-one with me where I can help you in resolving your stress, resolving your triggers, and finding exact solutions for you. Because the big thing is, everyone on this masterclass, you're all unique and you all have unique stories, and I can't help all of you at the same time. But if you book a private call with me, it's completely free, no obligation, where I can help you create a beautiful harmony in your body. How excited are you? Tell me. What do you think? And the big question to ask is, what is the long-term effect of you continuing to be stressed if the situations that you're experiencing in your life, they do not get resolved? Um, let me share the call information with you. Give me a second. It's completely free, and this is where we can work together one-on-one, and I can help you solve your stress or any relationship triggers or problems, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in your, work, career, whatever it is. And give me a second, and let me share the details. So this is how you book a free call. And this is how you can get in direct contact with me. This is absolutely, give me a second and I will share this with you. So this is my gift to you. I overcame a lot of challenges in my life, and I changed my relationship with stress. I changed my relationship with emotions and how I manage my stress. And this is my gift to you. I offer a free call directly with me where you can work directly with me one-on-one in a free, no obligation call where I can help you resolve your triggers, emotional stress response, whatever it is you have, so that we can build a beautiful world together. I think it's incredibly powerful. And if you can take advantage of this, where you book a free call with me, it's one-on-one, nobody else, and where I can share my tips with you on how I overcame my life's challenges, how I mastered the stress, how I became the stress ninja. That's really how powerful that is. How excited are you? Tell me, please let me know, how excited are you that you can have somebody on your side that can guide you, that can be that reflection for you, where we can work together and you can create this beautiful harmony in your life. And I would love to share and offer this amazing gift to you. And I would love for you also to follow me on Instagram. It's at Yulia Drummond, because That's where I will be sharing my tips and tricks and how I really mastered life. Because it's incredibly important to master ourselves. It's incredibly important to master our life. So that's what it's all about. It's empowering ourselves with tips, with techniques on how we can live a life full of mastery. That's what it is. And the techniques I shared with you today, I hope they really made an impact in your life. And I hope you can start looking at stress from a different perspective. How amazing would it be if next time you have a stressful situation and you say, you know what? Piece of cake. Let me take 3 deep breaths. Let me tune to myself. Let me ask myself some questions. Is the situation unsafe? Is my body treating it unsafe? What is the response that my body is creating towards this event? Is it really stressful, or can I easily handle it without going into a stress response? So I would love for you to share what are your key takeaways today from this masterclass, because I love growing and learning and seeing what information impacts others, because that's what we're all about. We are about creating a beautiful world together, about impacting the world. So please let me know what was the most important takeaway for you, because that was the mission for today's masterclass, is for me just to shift one perception in your mind. Because if all that is just shifting that one thing in your mind in how you look at stress, that's incredibly powerful. So please let me know what your takeaways are from this call. I would love to see. All right, looks like we are looks like you're taking advantage of the booking of a free session with me. That's wonderful. And I look forward to meeting you and speaking with you. And some of the comments are, I really liked what you said about the meaning we give to what happens to us and how we experience, and that our relationships are a mirror reflection of our internal world. Both of those things made a huge transformation in my life. Huge. Because I started looking at every encounter. When I blow up at my husband, I don't look anymore at what's wrong with him. I look at myself and I ask myself, what unhealed part of me blew up? So all we got to do is heal that unhealed part. And that's where I'm inviting you to a free session with me one-on-one where I can help you with that. Some of the other takeaways, the most important takeaway for me was that everything is neutral, and it's only our response to it that we can control to help our stress. That's exactly what it is. And I think the big thing between the neutral event and the response is giving ourselves that 2-3 seconds in between. There is event that happened and response. What happens is if we don't have that 3 seconds in between, boom, we blow up. But if we have an event and responses here, if those two are together, event, response, boom. But if we have an event, we give ourselves 2-3 seconds to give ourselves some more information about this event before this response is created. That's what happens. That's where those 2-3 deep breaths come in. Wonderful. Thank you so much for, sorry, something got stuck in my throat. I apologize. Thank you so much for your beautiful shares. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that I was able to create a shift in how you look at the world. And please take advantage of book a free session. That is life-changing for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, that's beautiful. I really appreciate your feedback. And book the call where we can talk one-on-one and we can really make a change in this world. And that's where you can come in and take advantage of that one-on-one session with me, where I can help create a new world for you, where I can help you shift your reality. And for those of you that are just joining in, I shared amazing tips on how to master your stress, how to become a stress ninja in your life, and how to really elevate your response to stress. And also, I have a free gift that I just gave away. You can book a free one-on-one session with me where I can help you overcome your emotional triggers, your emotional response to stress, where you and me can work together and create the beautiful response that you want to have to stress instead of being stuck in the stress response. So that's what it is. Thank you so much. And here's an opportunity to, here's a link for you to book that free session with me one-on-one, where I can help you resolve your emotional triggers and create a beautiful stress-free response in your body. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.